From Royal Communications Incorporated, good morning and welcome to King's Newsroom, the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, and I'm Newton Tokba presenting. Stories we're following this morning. Amidst calls for Liberia to become a non-permanent member on the UN Security Council, House of Senate assures UN of a peaceful and a coordinated effort. National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority Acting Director General terms former President George Weah's Chief of Staff, Eugene Nangbe, as political respirat, accused him of contributing to CDC defeat in 2023. Sano County Senator Creighton Duncan assures or accuses the United States and other Western countries of exploiting Liberia's natural resources by pressuring government, urges the government and citizens to focus on Liberia's sovereignty and long-standing interests. And away from Liberia, Microsoft founder Bill Gates says the most of his $200 billion fortune will be spent on improving healthcare and education services in Africa over the next 20 years. An Al-Qaeda link group says it carried out a major attack on a Malian town of Bolikisi and seized control of an army base. These, plus the news bulletin, our international developments are all packaged. We'll take a very short break. To be right back. Welcome back, and let's now have the news bulletin. Senate Pro Tem Yomli Kanka Lawrence has assured Liberia's commitment to peaceful and just world as non-permanent member on the UN Security Council. Speaking Monday when she addressed an Indian delegation at the Senate, Pro Tem Kanka Lawrence thanked India for its support to Liberia's bid in obtaining a non-permanent member seat at the UN Security Council. She noted that in few days, Liberia will have a seat at the UN Security Council, emphasizing that the country look forward to fighting for a just and peaceful world. The Grand Ambassador Senator also acknowledged Liberia's long-standing relationship with India and committed Liberia to a stronger cooperation in peace and diplomacy. The Indian delegation was high-level multi-party dedication was headed by Dr. Shrikant Ekanath Shendi. In remarks, Dr. Shendi appealed to members of the Senate to join India in the fight against global terrorism that has become a threat to the existence of peace in the world. National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority Acting Director General Sarah Sigbe has described former maritime boss, now Chief of Staff, to former President George Weah as political respirat who should not be taken seriously. Reacting to recent assertions made by Len Eugene Nangbe that the NAFA Acting Director General has become unable to give to his predecessor, Emma Glasgow, credit regarding her impact at the institution. The NAFA acting boss noted that every serious former government official would understand that there is no need to personalize government projects, something he accused the former NAFA boss of. He added that Eugene Nangbe, who on several occasions blasted the Congress for Democratic Change when he served as Minister of Information during former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's regime, should not be pretending to love the CDC only because he is serving as COS to former President George Weah. Sarah Sigbe further said, before climax of the Boakakun administration, Eugene Nangbe will return to the Unity Party, stating that the former Maritime Commissioner is unable to stay in opposition for a long period of time. According to him, there were celebrations among UP partisans upon hearing that Eugene Nangbe was announced a national campaign chair for CDC in 2023 because they understood that the former maritime boss would have caused CDC's defeat. Sando County Senator Creighton Duncan has blamed Liberia's huge underdevelopment rate to Western nations' exploitation on the country's natural resources. Senator Duncan also accused the United States and other Western countries of creating systems that normally pressured governments to address external agendas while hindering African leaders from making independent decisions. He noted Liberia and other African countries' governments have over the years failed to call on foreign companies to invest in factories production, but would prefer foreigners to export the country's natural resources without benefit to the country and its people. The Sando County Senator further alleged Western countries of employing strategies such as sanctions on African leaders, offering limited aid and funding youth training initiatives as strategic tools to maintain influence and suppress development in African nations. Duncan urged the Liberian government, lawmakers, and citizens to believe in their leadership and to support efforts aimed at advocating for the country's sovereignty and long-term interest. The former president of the Liberal Council of Churches says he has observed that massive criticism from cross-section of the public on the LCC honor bestowed on her speaker is an indication of their desire for the council to be relied on as a neutral body on the national issues. Bishop Cotto Brown, who is the general overseer of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International, said the public outcry also shows that there is a deep love for the LCC as the only platform for reconciliation, beacon of hope and peace in the country. Addressing a press conference in Broadville on Monday, Bishop Brown pointed out that the LCC, like any other organization, is undergoing some challenges and expressed the hope that whatever is prevailing in that august body is resolved. The Liberian Council of Churches former president indicated that he trusts the capacity of the LCC to resolve whatever that has created the challenges as religious leaders. In a related development, the United Methodist Human Rights Monitor has called for the immediate resignation of the leadership of the Liberian Council of Churches and be turned over for a special religious body for investigation. During the weekend, the leadership of the LCC bestowed special honors on several personalities, including House Speaker Richard Combs, during its 35th General Assembly, but the honoring of Representative Combs has sparked massive criticism. The 35th General Assembly was held amidst objections by some concerned members of the LCC on allegations of corruption and tampering with the council's constitution. But addressing the press conference in Monrovia on Monday, the Monitor's program director Jefferson Knight disclosed that the public outcry on the LCC, which has served as the moral and reconciliatory authority, in no question. According to Mr. Knight, the current leadership has lost the respect and trust of the Liberian people. They should give to new breed of religious leaders to rebrand the council to bring back its aspirations of its founding fathers. Several unknown group of people in Harper, Maryland County have reportedly returned to eliminate the resident judge of the 4th Judicial Circuit Court in Maryland County after they failed in 2024. Judge Tucker has confirmed his attackers' plan when he woke up from sleep by the voice of his caretaker asking the unidentified men who have gathered in front of his residence. Judge Tucker revealed that his unknown enemies were armed with cutlasses, knives, machetes, and other daily traditional weapons in his yard, revealing that immediately he opens the door and alarmed, his attackers withdrew back and went into the bushes. Former representative candidate of District Number 16, Achi Sano, has challenged the government to strengthen the liberalization policy to boost local economy. Achi Sano said the lack of enforcement to the policy is undermining the investments of Liberians. According to him, for too long, Liberians have been strangulated in the economy, thus calling for an urgent end to such strangulation. He stressed that the government should implement the policy as it would provide a level playing field for Liberians to thrive in the economy. Sanab Media section over the weekend during the induction ceremony of the Liberian National Truckers Union in Monrovia. The 35th General Assembly of the Liberal Council of Churches has ended with the adoption of 8-count resolution and re-election of Reverend Dr. Samuel Reeves for a full-year term. The resolution, among other things, resolved that the council promotes reconciliation throughout the country using dialogue, roundtable discussions, and forgiveness. The resolution read by Josh Moba mandates the LCC to support peace-building initiatives, conflict resolution, and empower communities to work together to promote development in their respective locales. Others elected, along with Reverend Dr. Reeves, were Reverend Sanji Stepter, First Vice President, Reverend Dr. Abraham Powell, Second Vice President, and Emmanuel Hall, Treasurer. Report says President Joseph Boakai made an extend Chief Justice Sianen Yo's legal stay at the Supreme Court beyond June 26, 2025. Chief Justice Yo is reportedly seeking for additional time to enable her render judgment in regard to proceedings entertained by her before her attaining the retirement age of 70 on June 26. The Chief Justice's 3-year at the judiciary will end on June 26, 2025, thus reaching the retirement age of 70, consistent with Article 72B of the 1986 Constitution. The law states the Chief Justice and the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court and judges of the subordinate courts of record shall be retired at the age of 70. It further stated a justice and associate of the Supreme Court may continue in office for as long may be necessary to enable him to render judgment or perform any other judiciary duty in regard to proceedings entertained by him before he attained the age. But the executive mentioned sources to our judicial correspondent over the weekend that President Joseph Boakai is considering the second paragraph of the Constitution to end Chief Justice Yo's lawful stay at the Supreme Court, then in August of the same year when she clocks 70 on June 26, 2025. The presiding justice in chamber at the Supreme Court has mandated Judge George Wills, resident judge of the 7th Judicial Circuit Court in Granjide County, to stop all legal proceedings in defendant David Nangwe's criminal case after he denied the defendant motion for bail. Defendant Nangwe has been accused of statutory rape, but during his trial at the 7th Judicial Circuit Court in 2024, the jurors refused to convict or to acquit him for his offense. Associate Justice Sienna Clinton Johnson's May 27, 2025 action was triggered by the petition for a writ of certiorari filed by defense lawyer Councillor Moses Rennie before the High Court seeking to overturn Judge Wills' legal decision consistent with Chapter 16, Section 16.21 of the Criminal Procedures Law. However, Justice Clinton Johnson has cited all parties to appear before a legal conference on Tuesday, June 17, 2025, before rendering any decision on the matter as provided by law. Councillor Rennie's petition to the court is challenging Judge Wills' ruling when he denied defendant David Nangwe's motion to admit to bail consistent with Chapter 13, Section 13.1 of the Criminal Procedures Law of Liberia. Councillor Rennie argued that Judge Wills erred to deny his client bail, especially when the trial jurors render divided verdicts, which placed his client on a bail consistent with Chapter 13, Section 13.1 of the Criminal Procedure Law of Liberia. Bong County Senator Prince Moy has appreciated citizens of Lower Bong for their unwavering support during the 2023 general and presidential elections. Recognizing their overwhelming support, Senator Moy expressed deep appreciation for their trust in him and other permanent figures of the county. He commended the selection rate for voting in favor of the rescue mission, ensuring a leadership committed to national development and progress. In his remarks, Senator Moit assured the citizens that President Joseph Walker would not let them down. He emphasized that the president is fully dedicated to transforming Liberia, working tirelessly to uplift communities and drive meaningful development across the nation, noting that Bond County will receive significant developments under President Walker's leadership. The Bond County Senator further presented 2 million Liberian dollars as a token of gratitude, emphasizing that the contribution stands as a testament to his commitment to empowering communities and ensuring better leadership. He made the assertions over the weekend in Totota, Salala District, Bong County. The Financial Intelligence Agency of Liberia has alarmed over rampant corruption at the Monrovia City Corporation. In a communication addressed to Monrovia City Mayor John Siafa, the FIA revealed that it has gathered information about various activities of the MCC, including an alleged arbitrary deduction of employees' salaries, ghost employees on the entity's payroll, and other financial malpractices. Meanwhile, the head of FIA, Mohamed Nasser, has ordered the MCC board to provide documents including MCC payroll data from the Ministry of Finance, among other things, to assist them in the ongoing investigation. The latest revelation from the FIA followed United Party's Queen Johnson's public outburst accusing Major John Sefa of corruption and nepotism at the MCC. According to her, Major Sefa has employed his personal staff from his printing press at the MCC and also appointed his daughter as the revenue director of the entity. She noted that the situation undermines the government's quest to fight corruption and vowed to expose any who beat corrupt officials or government. The Civil Servant Association of Liberia has officially declared support for Liberia's bid for the non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. The association president, Moba Johnson, is therefore calling on civil servants throughout the country to wear the national colors, including red, white, and blue, on Tuesday, June 3, 2025, to demonstrate to the international community that civil servants are behind the government of Liberia. Addressing a press conference in Monrovia during the weekend, Johnson commended President Joseph Walker for his visionary leadership and commitment to restore Liberia's voice in the international community. The Civil Servants Association president also commended Foreign Minister Sarah Beslo Yanti for diplomatic stewardship and tireless advocacy on the international level. What if you just joining us? A reminder, you listen to the King's News Run, the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia. Africa, and the rest of the world. Stories we follow in this morning amidst calls for Liberia to become a non-permanent member on the UN Security Council. House of Senate shows UN of a peaceful and coordinated efforts. National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority Acting Director General terms former President George Weah's Chief of Office Staff Eugene Nangwe, as political bird, accused him of contributing to CDC defeat in 2023. Sandy County Senator Creighton Duncan accuses the United States and other Western countries of exploiting Liberia's natural resources by pressuring government, urges the government and citizens to focus on Liberia's sovereignty and long-term interests. Away from Liberia, Microsoft founder Bill Gates says the most of his 200 billion fortune will be spent on improving health and education services in Africa over the next 20 years. An Al-Qaeda-linked group says it carried out a major attack on Malian town of Buligisi and seized control of an army base. These are stories to follow. We'll take another short break. We'll come back. We'll bring you the voices of the newsmakers. On our first development, National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority Acting Director General Cyrus Sigbe has described former maritime boss, now Chief of Staff, to former President George Weah as political bird who should not be taken seriously, reacting to recent assertions made by Len Eugene Nangwe that the NAFA Acting Director General has been thus unable to give to his predecessor, Emma Glasgow, credit regarding her impact at the institution. The NAFA acting boss noted that every serious former government official would understand that there is no need to personalize government's projects, something he accused the former NAFA boss of. He added that Eugene Nangwe, who on several occasions blasted the Congress for Democratic Change when he served as Minister of Information during the former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's regime, should not be pretending to love the CDC only because he is serving as COS to former President George Weah. Sarah Sigbert further said, before climax of the Bwakakun administration, Eugene Nangwe will return to the United Party, stating that the former Maritime Commissioner is unable to stay in opposition for a long period of time.
Eugene is not a serious person. He's not a serious person.
He's from a government official.
No, he's not serious. I mean, a person who once lambasted the cities while he was in the UP castigated the former President Weah. He vomited the CDC.
And one would say there is no morality in
after. Give me a chance. Let me land on this. I didn't want to dignify you, brother, and I want to take my time to address it. He vomited the CDC. He said all kinds of denigrating things about the CDC. Right after the Unity Party led government, because he couldn't stand opposition life, he jumped back into the CDC. He went back to his vomit and brought it up. That's not a serious person. I mean, when we heard that Eugene was even named as campaign manager in the UP, we celebrated because we knew he would have been the cause for the CDC's defeat. No serious person as a campaign manager will come on air and tell you, well, my government win, no opposition will work in my government. That's not a serious person. There's no serious person that will become Commissioner of Maritime and also serve as Information Minister, but become Chief of Office Staff to a former president. And being a former Information Minister, should understand that government is continuity. Every serious government official will not personalize government projects. Everything we do is for the interest of this country. If you go on my Facebook post, when I posted for that activity, I indicated, and I would just ask maybe you to just read what I have on my Facebook post. It's not about personalizing things. And I keep saying there are good things to happen, there are bad things to happen. So for every time I talk about the bad things, should I also reference her? Should I? This is continuity. Okay. Don't rush this. I want to encourage Eugene to start thinking about his next level. What can you do after government? Trust me, before this government ends, Eugene will come back to the Unity Party.
Will he be welcome?
Oh, wait. I mean, he's like a political raspberry.
He's the acting Director General of the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, Saros Sigbe. They're speaking. Sando County Senator Creighton Duncan has blamed Liberia's huge underdevelopment rate to Western nations' exploitation of the country's natural resources. Senator Duncan also accused the United States and other Western countries of creating systems that normally pressure governments to address external agendas while hindering African leaders from making independent decisions. He noted that Liberia and other African countries' governments have over the years failed to call on foreign companies to invest in factories production, but would prefer foreigners to export the country's natural resources rather than build the country and create jobs.
Back to understanding the future of this country that they have to handle when we are gone. And this is why I have decided to begin. You know, we are so much in love with other people than ourselves. What it means is you prefer others to benefit from our resources than Liberians themselves. For every time a Liberian is trying to succeed in this country, a lot of other people have their own saying. I gave you one example. There is something that was written by this guy they call Sheikh Natar Diop. And what did they say? It talks about keeping us African apart from one another. This is a book written by people who we call our friends, international partners, in how they control the way in which we live and how we prosper. Their primary concern about Africa or Liberia is to make sure that Liberia and other African nations does not prosper. They make all of our people to believe that leaders are not in their interest, that we are just corrupt. And the only thing you can get from us is our self-initiatives, because they are mostly influenced by outside forces. And this is where I want us to begin to stand up against that.
Okay.
When things are about to come on that floor, mainly things that they have interest in to benefit from, you find them walking in the corridors of the Capitol building. Yeah. And these things, they hope, like our forests, we have about 4 to 5 national parks just in Sino County alone. Imagine that. The people living in those parks are living the more detrimental lives. They're still in the tents that are called mud houses. The roads are never touched. The hurtful part about it, they claim that they are protecting the forest, but in the end, the owners of the forest suffered based on the influence. So we are now trying to conscientize. We are now trying to look at government and begin to voice out that government should have a different approach in dealing with this issue. Our resources are ours, and they cannot be controlled by others for their benefit. What are we benefiting from that forest? They gave you $1.5 million, and then the forest be reserved. What can $1.5 million do? What is the tourist aspect of that forest? There is nothing invested into the forest. First of all, to have a tourism in that kind of densely populated, dense forest is almost impossible. You cannot walk in the Sapo National Park and see animals.
He's Sino County Senator Creighton Duncan. They're speaking. Former representative candidate of District Number 16 Archie Sino has challenged the government to strengthen liberalization policy to boost local economy. Archie Sino said the lack of enforcement to the policy is undermining the investments of Liberians. According to him, for too long, Liberians have been strangulated in the economy, thus calling for an urgent end to such strangulation, and stressed that the government should implement the policy as it would provide a level playing field for Liberians to thrive in the economy.
So when they invest, bigger company comes in, we call it equity participation. They use our resources, they mine a gold, diamond. Then they leave our environmental issue. They leave our road issue. But when they come in, government is saying, no, water, my people must supply it. Truck, my people must supply it. Fuel, my people should supply it. That is the equity participation. In a short period of time, you have a lot of middle class income. If you don't do that, why is it that the government said, go during the election, we governance the people, you vote for me. The president appoint the ministers, the directors, senators are elected representatives. What happened to those who don't have the qualification, or even they have the qualification, the government cannot absorb everybody in government. So what do the government do for those who don't have government jobs? Is to protect the Liberian domestic private sector to create equilibrium. These things have to be addressed. I ran election here twice. My manifesto was resources to be protected. Liberalization policy. No foreigner to ride don't trust. Traders. You protected the foreign companies. Bring their money. You can't go to Beer Mountain and start mining. You can't do that. You can't go to ArcelorMittal. Chinese come. The money said they buy dump trucks. What can our government do to protect the interests of the cities? In leadership, there should be empathy in leadership. In the sense that if I am the person I'm eating, what am I doing?
His former representative candidate of District Number 16, Achi Sano, they're speaking. What if you just joined up with the time 1/2 A reminder, if you're listening to King's Newsroom, a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Stories to follow here this morning. Amidst calls for Liberia to become a non-permanent member on the UN Security Council, House of Senate assures UN of a peaceful and coordinated efforts. National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority Acting Director General terms former President George Weah's Chief of Office Staff Eugene Nangwe as political respect, accused him of contributing to CDC defeat in 2023. Sano County Senator Creighton Duncan accuses the United States and other Western countries of exploiting Liberia's natural resources by pressuring the government, urges the government and citizens to focus on Liberia's sovereignty and long-term interests. Away from Liberia, Microsoft founder Bill Gates says that most of his $200 billion fortune will be spent on improving health and education services in Africa over the next 20 years. An Al-Qaeda linked group says they carried out a major attack on a Malian town of Buligizi and seized control of an army base. To take another short break, we'll come back. We continue with more developments. Welcome back. The 35th General Assembly of the Liberia Council of Churches has ended with the adoption of 8-count resolution and the re-election of Reverend Dr. Samuel Rees for a 4-year term. The resolution, among other things, resolved that the council promotes reconciliation throughout the country using dialogue, roundtable discussions, and forgiveness. The resolution, read by Josh Mowa, mandates the LCC to support peace-building initiatives, conflict resolution, and empower communities to work together to promote development in their respective locales.
The Council promote reconciliation, and healing in Liberia through dialogue, forgiveness, and mutual understanding. Support peace-building initiatives and promote conflict resolution mechanisms to prevent and manage conflicts. Empower our communities to take ownership of their development and work together to build a more just and equitable society. 3. Threatens reparation, conflict normalization, and HR issues. The 35th General Assembly reaffirms and fully supports the TRC recommendations, full implementation, empowered its secretary to develop and sustain relationships with the Office on War and Economic Transport for Liberia, CSO, IPDs, in the attainment of accountability, threatens reparation and conflict normalization. The GA also empowers the Secretary to work with the state and non-state actors on the development of national sensitive instruments and the program that will provoke citizens' self-consciousness in denying mob violence, religious extremism, and transnational crimes. 4. The 35th GA adopts the implementation of the approved 2023 Constitution of the Council to be implemented by this current administration. Also recognizes the newly elected officials as legal beneficiary may enjoy the privileges and benefits thereof. 5. The secretary be mandated to secure external financial resources to strengthen our work, constructing boarding headquarters, strategic plan. The efforts to have transformative shape a new strategic plan be developed. The administration ensured that membership update is carried out with the aim of doubling the council's active membership. Status of delinquent members should be dealt with in accordance with the Constitution. The head of churches and organizations should nominate 3 permanent members to serve with the EWO for 3 years. EWO brand. And the EWO identifies a brand that will increase the organization's visibility.
He's Josh Mowa there reading the 8-count resolution adopted by the Liberal Council of Churches recently. The Financial Intelligence Agency of Liberia has alarmed over rampant corruption at the Monrovia City Corporation. In a communication addressed to Monrovia City Mayor John Siafa, the FIA revealed that he has gathered information about various activities of the MCC, including an alleged arbitrary deduction of employees' salaries, ghost employees on the entity's payroll, and other financial malpractices. Meanwhile, the head of FIA, Mohamed Nasser, has ordered the MCC boss to provide documents including MCC payroll data from the Ministry of Finance, among other things, to assist them in the ongoing investigation. The latest revelation from the FIA followed Unity Party's Queen Johnson's public outburst accusing Major John Siafa of corruption and nepotism at the MCC. Siafa has employed his personal staff from his printing press at the MCC and also appointed his daughter as the revenue director of the entity.
Siafa took a daughter to be a revenue director for City Hall, MCC. You take your daughter to be revenue director, MCC, and now you say corruption. Siafa is corrupt. Firstly, Siafa closed the printing press. As soon as the president appointed Siafa closed the business down and took everybody what his staffs. He had meeting just a few days with his staffs of MCC. Siafa said, JB not giving job. I had money giving job. I'm asking Siafa who he gave money to that giving job. Who chose Siafa gave money to that giving job? Your nigga, any part of that big corrupt government will fight you. You people bad. JB appointed you in his government. Your need for corruption will go for you. We put our left on the life of Joseph Parker to be president. We put our left on life of individuals that enrich themselves in the family. I will never go against Joseph Parker and his government. I'll go for all those that go against all those that fall in corruption. Joseph is corrupt. And what you expect for Siafa? But Siafa will take for the child in Kere and make her COS for MCC. I made Miata formula ate all the money around for inauguration. You can't do that. The government will vote for in our family government, in our friends government, voted for Liberian government, the block government. So now I can't be on life for you guys. My internet is tripping. But Siafa watch our fight. There is not a stop. You must have get the fight. And whosoever that fight corruption standing in this government, that watch our fight. We will fight you. I my personal side will fight you. Joseph Parker will succeed. When I see us, they are killing Joseph Parker legacy before our hands. JB will succeed.
She's Unity Party's Queen Johnson there speaking about alleged corruption allegations at the Monrovia City Corporation. The former president of the Liberal Council of Churches says he has observed that massive criticism from a cross-section of the public on the LCC honor bestowed on her speaker is an indication that they are desire for the council to be relied on as a neutral body on national issues. Who is the general overseer of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International, said the public outcry also shows that there is a deep love for the LCC as the only platform for reconciliation, beacon of hope, and peace in the country. Addressing a press conference in Broadville on Monday, Bishop Brown pointed out that the LCC, like any other organization, is undergoing some challenges and expressed the hope that whatever is prevailing in that Council of Churches, whatever that has created the challenges as religious leaders.
So every group has and can have challenges. I trust the capacity of LCC, I think, to be able to resolve as religious leaders, spiritual leaders, or internal crisis. I've sat down on some of the, mediation efforts. And it's our hope and prayer that whatever of the crisis, that we are able to resolve it, normalize the Council of Churches as pertaining the honor, they're reflecting on public response. There are a few things that have come to me. One, that there is deep love for the to play in Liberia. All you see and hear, you see that people want a group in Liberia that they can always run to in times of crisis, and they want to ensure that that group is balanced. I think the people at LCC should appreciate that, appreciate the fact that the council believes that this country depends on the Liberia Council of Churches, and that the Council of Churches should do as much as they can to ensure that it continues to play a national role. Second thing is that the public response to protecting and defending the Constitution, the rule of law, it is amazing to me. Just out of, for example, the recent crisis at the House of Representatives, and the fact that the public will respond to the extent to which you see them respond. Lash the border on, some people who think that maybe the honoring of some of the honorees was untimely, but they were also good, honorees. Nobody can argue that Kenneth Best doesn't deserve an honor. But about 90%, the Archbishop, Gabriel Jugwe, or the ACC General Secretary, or the WCC President for Africa. So we can understand, I personally can understand, some of the public concerns, and I think that the fact that the public wants the Council of Churches to continue to play its mediatory role within the Liberian society. I think it's a clear message. The biggest, I think that people, a lot of people would think that is someone.
He's the former president of the Liberal Council of Churches. There, speaking, he's Bishop Cotto Brown. The United Methodist Human Rights Monitor has called for the immediate resignation of the leadership of the Liberal Council of Churches and be turned over to a special religious body for investigation. During the weekend, the leadership of the LCC bestowed special honors on several personalities, including House Speaker Richard Cohn, during its 35th General Assembly, but the honoring of Representative Cohn has sparked massive criticism. The 35th General Assembly was held amidst objections by some concerned members of the LCC on allegations of corruption and tampering with the council's constitution. But addressing a press conference in Monrovia on Monday, Jefferson Knight disclosed that the public and reconciliatory authority in question. According to Mr. Knack, this current leadership has lost the respect and trust of the Liberian people, and they should give a new breed of religious leaders to rebrand the council to bring back its aspirations of its founding fathers.
At the Liberia Council of Churches regarding the different allegations and claims and counterclaims by insiders, especially Bishop Dixie and other executive members and other members of the council, including the general public, is concerning, and it has drawn our contention. We think this is a profound disgrace to the Liberia Council of Churches, with all the batches, the latches from the public, especially with regards to the different allegations around other corruption attitude within the council and constitutional tampering and all the different things. It has drawn our attention, and a betrayal of its foundational principles. The once respected voice of conscious and prophetic advocacy within the Liberian society has been overshadowed and compromised by the current leadership of the LCC, who have, in effect, transformed the organization into a mere platform for personal agendas and political expediency. Such conduct undermines the integrity and moral authority of the LCC, which should serve as a beacon of truth, justice, and spiritual guardians for the nation. To preserve the dignity of this esteemed religious body and restore public trust, the current leadership must step down immediately. Only through genuine renewal and committed leadership can the LCC reclaim its rightful role as a courageous voice for society betterment and moral integrity. This time for introspection and decisive action is now. Of the LCC and its vital mission within Liberia depends on it. So we want to call on the leadership. The best thing to do is resign because the shame, the disgrace, and the public ridicule is too much, especially with the kind of things happening, the allegations and all the different things. And what I want them to resign so that they can be subjected to an investigation, not just to resign, but to be subjected to a committee that should be constituted that will probe this executive. Because we cannot have the moral conscience of the society, like the executive, like the president, and all the other officials, like the secretary general, all of them need to step down and a committee investigate all of these allegations because you cannot be bashed at and by the public at the same time you want to serve as a moral voice of the society.
Peace. The United Methodist Human Rights Monitor, Jefferson Knight is speaking. And away from Liberia, Microsoft founder Bill Gates says the most of his 200 billion fortune will be spent on improving health and education services in Africa over the next 20 years. The 69-year-old said that by unleashing human potential through health and education, every country in Africa should be on a path of prosperity. Speaking in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, and also urged Africa's young innovators to think about how to build artificial intelligence to improve healthcare on the continent. Gates announced last month that he will give away 99% of his vast fortune by 2045, by when his foundation planned to end its operations. An Al-Qaeda linked group says it carried out a major attack on a Malian town of Buligisi and seized control of an army base. More than 30 soldiers were killed in Sunday's attack, according to sources quoted by the Reuters news agency. However, that figure has not been confirmed by the authorities. In a statement responding to Sunday's attack, Mali's army said it reacted vigorously before withdrawing, suggesting a tactical retreat. On that notice, I would like to go home on this edition of King's Newsroom, a 45-minute news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. But just before we go home, let's remind you of stories we've been following. Amidst calls for Liberia to become a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, House of Senate assures UN of a peaceful and coordinated efforts. National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority Acting Director General terms former President George Weah's Chief of Staff Eugene Nangbe's assertion as political respect, accused him of contributing to CDC defeat in 2023. Sano County Senator Creighton Duncan accuses the United States and other Western countries of exploiting Liberia's natural resources by pressuring government, urges the government and its citizens to focus on Liberia's sovereignty and long-term interests. Away from Liberia, Microsoft founder Bill Gates says most of his $200 billion fortune will be spent on improving health and education services in Africa over the next 20 years. An Al-Qaeda linked group says it carried out a major attack on the Malian town of Buligisi and seized control of an army base. These are stories we follow here on King's Newsroom. I would like to say many thanks to all of our reporters, editors, news correspondents who helped in making this package a success. But better still, join us this afternoon at 1 o'clock, at which time we will be here for another splendid and intriguing edition of the program. My name is Newton Topa. I presented this edition of the program, Newsroom. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye.